the idea with that is like, if one club gets better, then it encourages another club to have to get better. And if that club gets better, then the other club has to get better. And if we keep elevating the game and leveling up the game, then the game gets better, right? And so that's always been the goal, is just like, how can we serve the game? How can we get it better? How can we improve? And by helping build the UBC Okanagan softball program, that was an avenue, that was a pathway, that was an opportunity to be able to do bigger work.
Whether you live northeast, west, or south, the best fast pitch info comes from the coach's mouth. Welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast with your hosts, Jay Bolden and Ken Kraus.
Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast. This is Ken Kraus here as always with the only man in America that knows how to fold a fitted sheet without looking like he's wrestling an alligator, Mr. Jay Bolden. Coach, how you doing today?
Well, that's an absolute lie, but those things are the worst. Man, they drive me nuts. Those things. Oh my goodness. Even trying to just get them on is hard enough as it is. Folding it would be twice as bad. So how are you doing, Ken?
I'm doing pretty well. It's been great weather. We're getting ready. This is being recorded at the end of June, so we're getting ready for a heat wave next week in my area as well as your part of the Chicago area, and looks like it's going to be nasty out.
Yeah. But you know what, though? I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of looking forward to it so I can get in that pool and work on my tan, Ken. You know, I have that softball coach tan, those tan lines where, you know, you pull up your sleeves and you're as white as a ghost. You take off your socks and you look like a raccoon. So I'm excited out there to get out there and get a tan on those feet because, man, it looks like I'm wearing white socks when I take my shoes and socks off around the house. My kids make fun of me. So yeah, I'm excited to blend those tan lines next week. So super excited about that heat coming.
Yep. Yeah, actually I am too. You know, I don't mind it as long as I have air conditioning to run into at some point. I actually kind of like having the heat outside, sweating it out. You know, it's summertime.
Yeah, next week I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm not going to lie because most of my kids are in Colorado or they're in Indiana, Westfield there for the Midwest Firecracker. So I have a very few lessons next week and I'm looking forward to spending more time with my kids, being in my pool, taking the wife out on a date, you know, the things that I need to do to make sure I'm handling that business on the other end of things. So I'm kind of excited for next week. I'm like, man, what am I going to do with this free time? I'm sure something softball related will pop up. And
it always does.
Yes. But also too, my daughter plays her last tournament because we're semi-travel. We're finishing up here the end of June. So the kids have July. We do have tryouts that'll pop up next week for us a little bit there, first week and second week of July. I'm excited for next week to just to get a little bit of a break from things. I think it's good to recharge the batteries and hit it hard again going into fall.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've got pretty much everybody is out playing tournaments somewhere. So my wife and I are heading up to New Buffalo this weekend.
Really? Yeah. We were just up there a couple of weeks ago. We went up to Holland, went through New Buffalo. We might run into you up there because I'm thinking about taking the kids up there to some of those shops. We ate at the Stray Dog Cafe.
Well, you got to eat there. I've never been there before to the Stray Dog, but
very good food.
I can't tell you how many kids I have that come in with a Stray Dog T-shirt on.
Yeah.
You know,
your wife will love
T-shirt,
it. You guys will spend, all your money from your lessons are going to be gone after that weekend. So you'll have fun.
Well, and then we may head over to the Four Winds Casino, so then it'll really be gone.
Yeah, forget it.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yep.
All right, man. Enough of us babbling. This could go on forever. So why don't you give some information about this great guest that we have today? I'm super excited to jump in and get some questions rolling.
All righty. Well, everybody, put your toques on and grab a Tim Hortons donut or two because while our guest made a name for herself as an outstanding player at Georgia College and State University, a Division II school in Milledgeville, Georgia, she originally hails from Kelowna, British Columbia, in our neighbor to the north, Canada. Our guest also distinguished herself by being the only two-sport athlete in the school's history, playing soccer as well as softball. After playing professionally in the Dutch Softball League, Our guest launched her coaching career as an assistant at Division I Kennesaw State University, where she also received her master's in public administration while graduating with honors. She later went on to coach collegiately at Division I Mercer University, Reinhardt College in the NAIA, NJCAA Georgia Military College, and most recently back home as head coach of the University of British Columbia, Okanagan campus. She has also coached internationally as a head coach of both the Austrian and Ugandan national teams, as well as leading Team BC to the gold medal in the North American Indigenous Games. A member of both the Georgia College and State University and Okanagan Halls of Fame, our guest holds numerous coaching credentials and has earned multiple awards. Today, she is the founder and director of sports development at Canada Futures, which is dedicated to helping softball players reach their highest level of performance. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the amazing Joni Frei to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast.
Welcome, Coach.
Welcome.
So glad to be here. What an honor and what an intro. Appreciate it. You've done your research and make me sound far better than what I've been able to accomplish. So Ken, I appreciate the intro, and Jay, awesome to be here. Both of you guys, thank you.
Yeah. Well, the hard part was making sure I could pronounce all those Canadian names.
Well, okay, I got a couple for you. Toque is the I think the equivalent of a beanie,
right?
And Okanagan is the word, and you and everybody else are always tongue tied for that one. But everything else you nailed. My last name, that's the most important. You got that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, we're glad to have you here.
Yep. So, Joni, let's get this started like we do with everybody. Take us back to the beginning. How did softball, or how did you get involved first with softball? When did it start to become a part of your life?
Man, what a walk down memory lane this is going to be. So when I was the ripe old age of 5 years old, my mom signed me up for softball, and she was a ball player throughout her life. Came from Saskatchewan originally, she did. And so, yeah, she signed me up for ball, signed my brother up for ball, and there was no looking back. I was reflecting a couple weeks ago, thinking about like, what was that moment that I fell in love with the game? Because I feel like probably everybody has that stays in the game long term. And I remember the red glove that I had, and vividly remember this red glove. And there was a ball hit to right center field. And again, I'm 5. So like, who knows where right center field is? It's probably just over second base's head, but felt like I was way out there. And fly ball hit to me. And when you're 3 foot tall or however tall I was, that fly ball looks like it's 100 feet in the air. But anyway, as it was coming down, I remember seeing it. And again, this is, retracing to when I was 5 years old, but this ball's coming down, and you can imagine a little kid when they go to catch a ball, they turn their fingers up, but their palm is to their face versus the other way around. Yeah. So you can picture it. And somehow the ball landed in my glove. I don't think I caught it. I think it just happened to land in my glove, and how it stayed in my glove, I don't know, because it shouldn't have. But it did.
Involuntary grasp reflex.
Yeah. And I think at that moment in time, softball chose me. And so that was it. And then there was just no looking back. I loved the game. What a feeling that was to catch that fly ball. Brendan Gouliash, he was the guy that hit it. Like, this is crazy that I remember this however many years later, but it was a big thing. It was the talk of grade 1 the next day when we were back at school that I caught the fly ball. So yeah, it was an early age that I fell in love with the game. So thankful to my mom for signing me up. And it's been a huge part of my life since that age. I've just been so honored and privileged to be able to have softball a part of my game or a part of my life for as long as I have. But those are the beginning days. 5 years old, red glove, North Cedar Elementary School. And I'll remember it forever. And again, I don't think I caught the ball. I think at that moment in time, softball decided that, okay, this is somebody that we need to be involved in this game. So we'll find a way for her to catch this thing.
That's funny. I mean, all the things you've been involved in with softball since then, playing or coaching internationally, playing ball, and then what is it that really stands out in your mind? Being 5 years old, catching a fly ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll never forget it.
Who were some of the coaches and mentors that had the biggest impact on you as a youth athlete? Was there someone in particular that you remember that was life-changing?
There were so many people. And I think that I know that that's why I'm inspired to do whatever it is that I do today is because of how many people have poured their time and their lives into me. And for some, it was a lot of time invested, and for others, it wasn't. But equally, they've been impactful in my life. So if I jog my memory back to my elementary school days, and I mean, I think we'd be here forever if I listed everybody, but my school principal, Mr. Buna, he was a huge part. He was my basketball coach. And then Mr. Croker was my basketball coach. Mr. Vogt was my softball coach. Mr. Gom was my softball coach. There was just, there was a lot of people, teachers, coaches that really had a large impact in my life. Mrs. Robinson, she was my PE teacher. And those are the ones that I think about. Yeah, that really set the tone for the rest of my life. And I just wanted to be like them. They were just so cool. And so I definitely looked up to them, and they were a huge part of shaping who I am today at a young age. But again, we could be here forever, me listing off all of those people. But when I think about elementary school and high school, those are the names that come to mind.
Well, that's great that you have so many that you remember fondly, because I think a lot of players, the person that stands out the most in their mind is the coach they hated.
Yeah. And you're right. And I think about that, and I don't know that I had one of those. And maybe I'm really lucky. I hope not. I hope that this is the norm, but I don't think that there was a coach that I've had that I didn't like or didn't appreciate or didn't benefit from having in some way or another. So I think part of the deal is just being open to and coachable. And eager, and if you show up that way, then it's hard as a coach to not take a liking to a player as well. So maybe I had that working for me, but yeah, I've just had incredible people in my life that I've always looked up to and really liked. I think that matters. It helps to like the people that are leading you.
Yep. Yeah, it does for sure.
Joni, I want to ask you, what led you to pursue collegiate softball at Georgia College and State University? How did that all happen for you?
Yeah. What's a nice girl from Canada doing in a place like Georgia?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so funny. So I often tell this story, and every time I do, I'm like, wow, I sound like such a dork. So I mean, growing up, I played all sports. I think I played, 11, 12, 13 different sports. I love sports, loved being outside. And so I remember like not knowing exactly what sport I even wanted to play long term. As a Canadian kid growing up in a relatively small town, you're not thinking scholarship. You're not, I wasn't even thinking like Duke and UCLA and Oklahoma, like that wasn't on TV for us. The Blue Jays were on TV. The Braves actually were on TV. And so I didn't really know what the heck I was going to do once I was done high school. I just hoped that I could play more sports for a long time. And so a little bit oddly, I was helping one of my friends whose dads knew how to make a recruiting video. And it was like the VHS tape back then. Mm-hmm. I don't even feel that old, but every time I say that, I'm like, back then. And so they were fast and furiously sending out videos. And at that time I was like, oh, you know what? Like I'm a good athlete. If a college coach wants me, they'll come up and we'll find a way to find each other. That's not the way that it works, by the way, but that's, the young mind. That's kind of how I looked at it. So anyway, so they were sending out a bunch of videos, and while they were sending out these videos, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to pay attention to what they've got going on. Maybe I'll make my own little video. And so somehow between these VHS videos going out, I had I had a 4.0 GPA, so that was helpful. But yeah, the videos were going out, and I was getting letters back from coaches. And then I had no idea. Harvard, what? I don't know Harvard. We don't know that in Canada. It's not something that we talk about in our high schools. So after getting a large number of letters from different schools around the U.S., I was like, well, I better get out a map and look at what the U.S. looks like, because I hadn't been to the U.S. before. Then I was like, okay, cool. School colors. This kind of matters. I'm looking at these letters, school colors, cross-referencing for where this school is on the map. The school colors needed to be either red and white, which are Canadian, obviously, or navy blue. Because if I was going to be tanned, Jay, you had talked about getting a tan. I wanted to make sure that I looked good. And so after looking through and cross-referencing with a map, a bunch of different schools and school colors. And again, hopefully my players aren't watching this, of course, LOL, but this is not the way that you decide the trajectory of your life. It's probably supposed to be a little bit more to it. And I was just figuring it out on my own. That was one of the things that my my mom and my parents really allowed me to do was navigate life on my own. I had autonomy and independence at a very young age. And so thankfully, I was able to, I was forced, I guess, or just naturally having to find kind of my own path. And so eventually I came across a school that I liked the school colors. It had navy blue and green. I needed to go somewhere that they talked funny. There had to be a good accent, hence our intro this morning, me asking where you guys are from, because I love the accents. And
what accent?
What is she talking about, Ken? I don't have an accent.
I don't have an accent. Do you?
Forget about it.
This is the silly one. And then had to have the school name, had to have the state name in the school name, because heaven forbid if my friends or family or teachers or somebody asked where I was going to school, I didn't want to have to explain to them, by saying the school name and it wasn't in the state name, and just having a full-on conversation and having to talk about it. So again, the mind of a 10th, 11th grade or whatever grade, I think probably 11th grade by that time. Checked all those really important boxes, had I think a brief conversation with Wendy Thies, who was the head coach at Georgia College at the time. She had just taken on the program, and one of her, for me anyway, one of the selling points was, do you want to be a part of building a nationally recognized program? And everything that she said aligned with kind of who I became, I guess, not who I was. I didn't know who I was at that time, but it landed with me. It felt right. And so, didn't go for a visit, didn't know anything about anything, just knew that she had an accent. They talked a little bit funny, liked the school colors, had the school name or had the state name in the school name, and signed my letter and packed my 2 suitcases, jumped on a plane and landed in Atlanta, Georgia, and ended up there. No visits, no nothing. I think maybe my mom was involved in making sure that the banking situation worked out between the US and Canada, because I don't think I was old enough to do that yet, but the rest was on me. And I, as fortunate, and I would even say blessed and lucky and all the things that I was in determining my fate, I guess, at that juncture in my life, not knowing that. I don't know that that's the way that it should be. I don't know that you should make that be your determining factor on, all those things be your determining factor in how you choose how you're going to spend the next 4 years. But anyway, long-winded story, even longer, is a lot of it happened by, I guess, chance, by fate. But traveled from the northwestern part of the continent down to the southeastern part of the continent and never looked back, and really could not have been more happy, more blessed with the experience that I had. Just an incredible 4 years. My teammates were awesome. We had success. We went from, under 500 to runner-up at the Division II national championship game. We were the runner-up. And so, what Coach had said, what Coach Thies had said was early on, do you want to be a part of helping build a national championship program? And she made that happen. And we were all able to contribute to that team's success. And so that has forever shaped who I am. And just a coach taking a chance on a Canadian kid that she had never seen and probably didn't even know who to talk to, because our coaches just simply weren't tapped into the recruiting network that we know exists today. So it goes back to that. I'm pretty sure softball chose me, because there's no way that all of these things could have worked out on my own accord. There was just too many things that were right about that. But that's been the journey down to Georgia.
Well, and I just have to ask, did the mascot they had, did that play into it at all?
The Bobcat. I think it must have, because I like the colors and it looked cool. So I could say that. We have Bobcats up here. I think I looked that up later. Actually, that's funny that you mentioned that. The whole thing. It was all just right. Everything about Georgia College State University for me was right.
I mean, you just want to make sure they didn't have some kind of wimpy mascot or something. And you go, I can't deal with that.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, Bobcat was fierce and aggressive, so I was good with that.
Yeah. So what lessons from your playing career still influence your coaching philosophy today?
So much. And I think you ask any coach, and we're a culmination of the experiences that we've had, and whether they're micro experiences or macro experiences, they all just, help build and formulate who we are. And I think, I was talking with a friend yesterday about this, is like, who am I today? And a lot of it had to do with, I guess, maybe not having a full grasp on reality. And always, this sounds a little bit funny now that I'm saying it out loud, but always just thinking about what could be, thinking about possibilities. not really spending much time thinking about the problems or the challenges, really just thinking about what the possibilities are. And I think if you focus, like if you're forward focused in your thinking and you've got a North Star ahead of you, then a lot of the distractions don't really distract you because you're not giving it any, you're not giving them any time or energy. So I guess what I would say is just being, insanely optimistic, grateful, just having an attitude of gratitude, privileged, feeling a need to, like a bit of an obligation to give back, even if just a fraction of the joy that the game has provided for me my whole life. And so, yeah, I think it's just like, okay, what am I receiving, and making sure that I'm quickly deflecting and translating that to other people. So I guess, I don't know, I haven't thought about this before, but being a bit of a mirror and just reflecting the experiences that I've had, and sharing it with other people, because they don't belong to me. They belong to all of us. And the game provides that for us. It's a pretty incredible platform to do that. So I don't know if I answered your question outright, but I would say just all of my experiences have helped shape who I am. There's been significant people, the network of friends that I have and colleagues and coaches in the game now, they've all been a part of shaping and will forever be a part of shaping who I am. Just always being curious and wanting to learn more. I think a high level of humility is needed. Just knowing that you can always get better. So passionate, purposeful, and really privileged, and feeling a need to serve and provide opportunities for people that haven't yet received it. And I think that's our job, just collectively as people that have benefited from the game. So yeah, I could probably go on and answer those questions, but maybe that's good for now.
And you're probably hoping that, sometime in the distant future, when we're on episode 625, that someone that played for you will mention your name just the way you mentioned some of the people that were influences on you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like that's, I think, what our job is as coaches, right? Is just to create space for other people to have opportunities and then pass those opportunities on to other people. So yeah, there's no greater honor than having the opportunity to have an impact on somebody's life. Like what more is life about than being able to contribute and invest in other people's lives? Joy comes from that. And I think that's what our pursuit is. So
for sure.
Yeah. I think I want to say this too, Joni. I think one of the coolest things for me is when I have a college kid that's either graduated or they come back home for summer and they're like, yeah, I'm doing lessons. And I'm like, that's what it's about. Like, you need to give back to the game. Right. Yeah. Like, you not just do it because there's a financial reward with it, but also because you're giving back to the game that's given you so much. So I think that's the coolest thing you said is, like, as coaches, we want to give to these players, and then hopefully those players will give to the next future generation of players and coaches. So I think what you said there is absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
so,
that's our job, right? It's our responsibility to do that. That's how the game continues to grow and get better. And if everybody just does a little bit, then, and that's been the case. Look at our game right now. Like, look at where it is. It's incredible. Yeah. So yeah, I would echo that as well. So
I want to ask you, were there any defining moments as a player that kind of shaped the coach, you would eventually become?
Yeah, there were a few of them. I remember, I gave one of those when I was the ripe old age of 5 years old, catching that ball. That was the probably the catalyst. But I remember I was playing shortstop. I was going back and forth between being a shortstop and a center fielder. And I remember our starting shortstop was injured. And so my coach had kind of rearranged the defense and put me back. I was playing center field typically, but put me back at shortstop. And I remember we were actually playing against Kennesaw State, which is so funny because years later, as you mentioned, I would go on and coach there. Scott Whitlock, who I'm sure you know the name, but if not, he's worth knowing. Hall of Fame coach, and just an incredible coach and incredible history and career. But anyway, I was playing shortstop, ball hit to the 5-6 hole. I dove. There was runners at the time, second and third, and dove. Obviously, the runner at third scored. But I think we were up by a run or something, or a couple runs, and the ball didn't get to left field, which would have scored 2. And I remember at that moment, he was coaching third, obviously, and he just congratulated me at that moment. He's like, "Wow, like that saved a run." It's so pretty cool that the opposing team coach was giving you a kudos, but that stuck with me. Not just that he recognized, I would say, not routine, but a play that a shortstop should make. But just how important the details and every single inch of the game is, and how important it is to go all out, and how important it is to do whatever it takes. And so a lot of lessons came from that simple recognition that definitely has stuck with me as a softball coach and really just in my career, but just living as a human, is that excellence is in the details, and that it is about going all out, and it is about the little things, and it is about making sacrifices, if you need to with your body in diving. But it's not about the individual, it's about the team and the team success. And for whatever reason, that play transpired into a lot of lessons. So that one for sure, I will carry with me. And then I think, just our team success. I don't really remember a ton of individual success by design, I think. I remember team successes. I guess I'll give you one more. We were playing down in Columbus where the Olympics were held in 96. And I remember I think we were in extra innings, and I had a 3-0 count. And typically, what do you give your player on a 3-0 count is a take. But my coach gave me the green light, and 3-0 count, green light. And of course, we knew that the pitcher was, trying to throw a strike here. And so just the freedom and the confidence that my coach had in me to be able to do something in that situation. But I ended up hitting a home run, and I think we ended up coming around and winning that ball game. But that will forever be etched in my brain as well, just because of the confidence that my coach had in me in that moment. And the feeling that I had, it was I'm stepping back into the batter's box to think like, okay, this is an opportunity. And so I've definitely carried that philosophy, that feeling with me, that I want my players to feel that way as well, that I've got so much confidence in them, that I believe in them, that they can do it, that they should believe in themselves. And I just felt so free when I played, and to be able to make sure that the environment that we create is free and fun and joyful. And so, yeah, I would say that those were some pretty defining moments in my playing career that have translated into how I approach coaching. And it really comes down to just a feeling of freeness and the ability just to go do what my players are designed and destined to do. So,
well, and I think that story too, there's a lesson in there for coaches and pitchers, which is that so many people are walk averse and they just assume you're not going to swing at it. But sometimes, in that case, a walk would have been a heck of a lot better than a home run.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. Yep,
a walk is a possible run. A home run is a definite run.
Yep. Well said. Agreed.
Joni, when did you realize that coaching was something you wanted to pursue? When did you kind of go from athlete to saying, I think I'd like to teach this game?
Okay. So, man, I'm sharing all the things that probably make me look silly. So when I was in third grade, we're graduating from first grade to third grade, I remember my teacher had asked for us to do a project of what we want to be when we grow up. And I imagine most teachers have assigned this to their students. And I remember going home and thinking, and this is right around the time that Goonies were like the movie to watch, right? And every time I watched Goonies, and you'd get to the end of, like, close to the end of the movie, and they were going into those caves, and they found the treasure, and there was this amazing pirate ship and One-Eyed Willie. I was like, man, that's such a cool feeling. And finding treasure, like, that was what it was all about, finding treasure. So I was thinking to myself, man, it'd be really, like, when I'm watching the show, I'm like, or this movie, I'm like, man, it'd be really cool to, like, be a pirate if they get to go and, like, find treasure and find loot. And then I did a little bit more digging and found out that there's lores of and stories of treasure not being found yet. So I'm like, man, I could maybe piracy is in my future. And again, third grade, keep that in mind. I didn't realize that any of that was illegal or anything like that. It was more adventurous. I was kind of going back and forth between being a pirate or a teacher. And I think probably the feeling to want to be a teacher was just having had a couple, and again, third grade. So I've only had a few teachers, but having had cool teachers, really liked my teachers, appreciated my teachers, loved to learn. And so from third grade on, I knew that I wanted to be, and I remember even like presenting this for my project. I can't really decide between being a teacher or a pirate. And I think at that time, my third grade teacher was like, stick with teaching, because piracy maybe isn't the best option.
Well,
And
maybe
so,
you could have learned piracy and then become a pirate teacher.
There we go. That's true. Yeah, coulda. Well, and I kind of thinking about the loot thing and thinking about the treasure. I think I got to have both. As a teacher, that's really what our job is to find the treasure and the gifts in our people, right? And so, yeah, so I knew I wanted to be a teacher. Again, being a coach in Canada, like it wasn't even a thought. I didn't think it was volunteers. Even to this day, like 99.999% of our coaches are volunteers, definitely in softball. And so, yeah, I didn't think that, being a coach was an option. And so being a teacher was what I felt I could be and still contribute into the lives of other people. And so from a young age, if not piracy, I was going to be a teacher, and I carried that with me. And so that was another thing. I mean, later on, I realized that Georgia College State University has a really good health and physical education program. And so, again, just one more thing that tracked. I didn't actually consider that when I was looking at where I was going to play softball, but it just so happened that they had a great education program as well. And so
on top of being blue and green.
That's right. I mean, just all the boxes that mattered were checked, and I didn't even know it at the time. But yeah, that's how. And then I guess, well, to extend that, because that doesn't answer the full question. And then when I was at Georgia College and State University, again, still knew, obviously I was in the education program. Then when Scott Whitlock had commented on that play, I was like, man, that guy, I like that guy. And that was my junior year. And so I was thinking and he'd actually called me over after the game and said, hey, I'd like for you to come be my graduate assistant when you're done playing here. So he called me. We were at home, so we were in Milledgeville, and he called me over and said that to me. And so, I mean, the credit goes to that guy, because I didn't even know that coaching was an option. I wasn't really sure what was next for me, but that solidified it. So I knew that, in a year and a half or however long it was until I graduated, that there was an opportunity for me to go and coach with him. It just opened up all kinds of doors. And so, yeah, that's what ended up happening is I graduated and went overseas and played. And then when I was done that, moved my stuff from Milledgeville to Atlanta. Yeah, I went and coached at Kennesaw and really became a bona fide coach. Didn't know it was a possibility, but Scott Whitlock helped make that happen.
Blue, timeout.
Hey, Jay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you think brush contact is for pitchers?
It's pretty high up there, Ken. Probably a 10, since it's hard to get maximum speed or accuracy without it.
Yeah, I agree. But have you ever had a student who struggled to get good light brush contact?
Sure, all the time, in fact, especially when they've been taught hello elbow and are trying to throw around their hips, or they're sliding their hips out of the way doing that crazy ninja move.
So what do you do when you run into that situation? Keep railing on them until they get it right?
I used to do that a lot, but then I learned about a product called Pitch Squeak, Ken.
Pitch Squeak? What's that?
It's a cool little armband with a squeaker inside of it.
Like a dog toy?
Yeah, kinda.
So how does it work?
Well, you slip the armband onto the pitcher's forearm and you set it so the squeaker is where the brush contact should happen. Then, when the pitcher goes into release, she tries to get it to squeak, like this. If she makes it happen, she got brush. If there's no sound, she knows immediately and can make a correction.
Wow, cool. So she gets immediate audible as well as tactile feedback.
Oh, there you go again, showing off with those big and technical words again. But yeah, she can feel it and hear it.
Does it really work?
You bet it does. I use it with my students all the time, and it helps them learn how to get brush contact pretty quickly if they practice with it.
Sounds neat. Where can I get one?
Oh, it's easy, Ken. Just email support@pitchsqueak.com, and Jason, the inventor of it, and a Polygirl certified pitching coach himself, will ask you how many you want and send them right out.
I'll do that today. Thanks, Jay. What's that address again?
Oh, you bet, Ken. It's support@pitchsqueak.com. One more time for those of you who are listening, support@pitchsqueak.com. And don't forget to mention in the email that you heard about it right here on From the Coach's Mouth podcast, and you'll receive 10% off.
Play ball.
I want to ask you, you get that opportunity there, and now you've been coaching for a long, long time. I mean, since then. So how has coaching changed from, when you started to where you are today for you?
Oh, so It's funny. The theme, I guess, right now is Scott Whitlock. So, what did you send this to him? I mean, coaching has changed because the expectations, I think, of players have changed, right? And so the Scott Whitlock approach that I adopted, I'm a culmination of a bunch of coaches that I've had. So I'm not just a mini Scott Whitlock. That's not it. But you look at the people who have had success and you want to emulate that and adopt some of their practices. And he was hard. So that was my initial approach. And I was, and it worked. I mean, we won ball games. It worked, but I knew that it just wasn't me yet. And so I had to evolve as a coach, and I just stayed curious, and I just learned, and I just observed. And I think I observed deliberately and intentionally. And so I observed, I'd go to tournaments and I'd be recruiting and watch how coaches coached and watch how players responded. The NFCA has been an incredible source of inspiration. National Fast Pitch Coaches Association. I know the both of you are familiar with it. Carol Brueggemann is an incredible human. I've learned a ton from her. I've had all kinds of people that I've connected through that organization, and just over the years learned. Jay Miller, Sue Enquist, the list goes on and on and on for the people that I've been able to have contact with and learn from and see how their players respond and see the success that they have. So credit goes to everybody else for allowing me to observe and see who they are and what they're about, and kind of pick a little bit from everybody and become the coach that I am. And I will forever do that. So, in a year from now or 2 years from now, when we talk again and do this again, I'll be a different person. Right. And that's the ticket, is evolve or die. I think as coaches, we've just got to continue to evolve.
Yeah. And I think that is important. I also think it's one of those things I wonder about young players, I guess, as players start to transition into coaching. The easiest thing to do is to imitate somebody that you've seen, or, a group of people you've seen, but that may not necessarily fit your own personality. So what did you do, and how do you think that young coaches can kind of find their own voice and become confident in who they are and putting themselves out the way they are?
Yeah, to definitely remain curious, remain open, learn, observe, put yourself out there, show up, allow yourself to make mistakes, and know that it's a journey, and know that who you are today is not who you're going to be tomorrow. And so just freeing yourself up to be human, allowing yourself to make mistakes, staying curious, asking questions, continue to show up. And there's going to be days, man, there's days that this game can beat you up, not just as a player, but as a coach as well. And as long as you understand that you're playing the long game, if you feel a calling and this is, purposeful for you, then just to remain in the game and absorb all the lessons that come from the challenges. And, I'll snag a phrase from Lonnie Alameda, which is to make friends with adversity. And there's lessons that will come from that. And so if you feel a calling, there's going to be days that you're challenged and discouraged, and it's all part of the journey. So embrace the hard, embrace the challenges, and know that it's kind of like a rites of passage, that coaching is tough, but only a few get to do it. And what an honor it is. And with that honor and that privilege comes adversity, and comes hard times, and comes challenges. But to know that that you were designed for this, that you're capable of being a great coach, and that it takes time, and that there's no shortcuts to it. The grind is real, and you have to go through it. And I don't even know that you ever get there. When I talk with my players about, achieving and success, it's just it's the pursuit of excellence. It's the pursuit of it. It's not the final destination. The joy is in the journey, and the journey is the reward. So I would come at it from a very philosophical angle, and then also the mentorship piece. And that's why I'm very passionate about mentorship and female coaches, but all coaches, because it doesn't matter if you're, what your gender is. It really is just this coaching thing is tough. Teaching is tough. It's a tough position, tough career for those that are fortunate enough to be able to make it a career. But that is what makes it so rewarding. And lean into your people. I'm here for you. I'll pick up the phone any time of the day if a coach wants to have a conversation and talk some things through. But all I'll do is just share my lived experience with them and remind them that that's what this whole thing is about. It's just a journey to learning. And if you keep showing up, there's no other option than to learn and be more effective and more influential and more confident in who you are. So you can't cheat the grind. You can't cheat the process. It's a journey, and you will learn and be more refined every step of the way. So you got to have a North Star and know what you're working towards, because the day-to-day can sometimes beat you up and discourage you. But there's incredible people here that all over the place that are willing to share their knowledge and their experience. And I guess the other thing I would say is like, that is what is so cool to me about softball. Like I said, I played in a number of different sports, not obviously to the highest level that I have with softball, but I would say that is one of the amazing things about our incredible game are the people that are a part of it, and the people that are so willing to give their secrets, their knowledge, their lived experience, their wisdom. Like, what a cool sport that we are involved in. You guys are, in another country. Here I am in Port Hardy, British Columbia, and we're talking softball, and there's a lot of similarities. So yeah, what a cool game that we get to be a part of, and the culture is I think second to none.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Jay would agree as well that it's amazing how willing softball people are to share their knowledge. It's in a lot of sports. We were talking to Brad Kilpatrick on another podcast, and he was talking about that too, that softball people will share their knowledge.
Yeah.
And Margot Yonker was saying that softball people, they really, other sports, they're not going to do that. They're going to kind of hide their secrets. Here, you want to ask somebody how they did something or how they got to a point or how they accomplished something, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'll say this too. I think, you mentioned Carol. Carol's been a guest on this podcast here too. And, that before she was ever president of the NFCA, I saw her speak. I think it was downtown Chicago at one of those
NFCC courses.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And she was doing outfield stuff. And at the end of her presentation, she goes, if you're ever in Louisville, you want to come to a practice, just reach out. So, my wife and my in-laws live in Louisville. So in the fall, I think it was like 2013, I went down there and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to email Carol and see if this is real. Sure enough, I emailed her. She's like, yep, I'll meet you outside of the stadium. I'm there. I'm in the bullpen with Courtney Deifel Scott she was the pitching coach at the time. Carol was the associate head coach there. I'm on the field. Carol gives me her practice plan. I go in and watch the hitting. I come back out. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, talk about people just giving you stuff. I was wrapped up in the whole practice, and it really changed me as a coach. When I came out of there, I was like, man, you know what? I went back with my high school staff. I'm like, man, we've been doing it wrong. Like, we got to change what we're doing. And if we want our kids to get better, this is what we got to do. So again, like Ken said, like, softball coaches are willing to give their stuff out. Sometimes you have to ask, right?
Yeah.
And I think Ken and I are both like that. We always have people reaching out to us, asking us stuff. So we're more than willing to share.
That's so
Joni,
cool.
I want to ask you though, tell us about the vision that, of this program that you started up there in Canada. It's where are you at again?
So I'm in British Columbia. I'm currently in the metropolis of Port Hardy, which is on Vancouver Island. It's the northern tip. I have to travel a good distance to get to a central hub. But the program at UBC is in Kelowna, which is more interior. That's where I grew up.
And so what was the vision for you trying to start a program there?
It goes back to like my desire to serve and build the game and be a part of something that is unique and uncommon, and just knowing that my responsibility is to serve the game. And so having come back to Canada, my objective or my goals was to look around and be like, okay, where are the gaps? Where are the vacancies? Where are the challenges? Where are the struggles? Where are the problems? And how can my experiences serve to help build or bridge gaps or whatever. And so Kelowna was where I grew up playing softball. And I remember at the time there was different teams, different associations. Some coaches got along, some didn't. And I didn't as a player, you're not paying attention to the, bureaucracy or politics or any of that stuff. You're just a ball player playing the game. But when I came back and I was, leaning into coaches and started to do some lessons and really just help, run practices and things, I was starting to intake and gather intel on some of the challenges within the game. And one of them was that coaches weren't getting along and seeing eye to eye. And I don't blame anybody, because as a coach, your job is to make sure that your team is set up for success. And so I was like, okay, well, what's the entity that is making sure that everybody everybody is working towards the same common goal in addition to helping their team win. And so I didn't find it at the time. And I was like, you know what? I think it's my responsibility to try to create an overarching entity that neutralizes some of the club. I don't think the word silos is necessarily right, but just the club approach, because the club approach is going to be a little bit different than what an overarching entity in a certain region is going to be. And so anyway, all that to say that when the opportunity, a couple times I'd been asked like, hey, would you be interested in starting a softball program at UBC Okanagan? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I know how much work this is going to be. But then when the right people came and approached me, Raymond Lawrence, Darren Bennett, Tom Hughesman, he was the athletic director there. It came down to timing with the right people. And so at that time, I was like, okay, I think that this is going to be worth the work. And I was a small part of it. I mean, everybody contributed for sure. I obviously had to lead it. But I remember thinking like, this is an opportunity to create a overarching entity, turns out to be a college program, that will allow kids from all clubs to come to our camps and to come be a part of something beyond their club. And so it was an opportunity, it was a responsibility, and it was really good timing that we'd build that program. And the ultimate goal was thinking about how, because I think long term, sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse to have vision, but thinking that, okay, by creating space at the collegiate level, it will trickle down, right? We'll scaffold back, and it'll help create some infrastructure and some meaningful, good competition within the clubs, but equally allow like-minded kids to come together. So, thinking long-term about the impact of a college program meant that we would have a strong hub of softball in the Okanagan that didn't exist. There was a need for it. And so, thinking long-term and thinking vision and knowing the impacts of a good program, not just on the collegiate circuit, but also at the high performance level, but also at the club level and what it would do. It also meant that our players, who we would coach, they would take the knowledge and the information, and then they would go to the clubs and they would coach the kids at the clubs, right? And so it just like I did, offer lessons, do camps, do clinics, be mentors, build that relationship with the clubs from the college angle, just meant that the game was going to get better. And one of our mantras, and you made me think about it actually in the previous question. One of my mantras, and one of our mantras, even to this day with Canada Futures, is a rising tide lifts all ships. And so the idea, and I think it's boats, but I've changed the word to ships. But the idea with that is like, if one club gets better, then it encourages another club to have to get better. And if that club gets better, then the other club has to get better. And if we keep elevating the game and leveling up the game, then the game gets better. Right. And so that's always been the goal, is just like, how can we serve the game? How can we get it better? How can we improve? And by helping build the UBC Okanagan softball program, that was an avenue, that was a pathway, that was an opportunity to be able to do bigger work. And and along the way, we had some success, some early success. I'm going to go back to saying that, that 5-year-old kid that softball chose, I think that we were very blessed. And I think it was a level of fate to have had the success that we did in such a short period of time. But it was a lot of hard work from a lot of different people. Nobody was paid, myself included. It was just like, it was a labor of love, but it was a purposeful project. And from that comes joy, because I never thought about a paycheck. There was not one coming. It was just, how do I do good for this game? And how privileged am I to have the life that I have because of this game? And I gotta make sure that I pay it forward and pay it back. And so that's how that program started.
Is that Beyond the White Lines? Is that program, or is that something else?
No, that's something else. So that was the university program, UBC Okanagan. Beyond the White Lines was a few years before that. This is a great one, I think. Anyway, Beyond the White Lines. So Beyond the White Lines is our softball academy. And when I first came back to Canada after coaching in the US and playing, traveling to Europe and playing and coaching there, when I was over in Austria coaching, a fella had a documentary. It's yet to be released. I don't know that it ever will be for for a reason. And it was actually, well, I'll tell you the reason. It was because UCLA didn't end up winning the Women's College World Series. Oklahoma did. It was their first year. But there was a documentary following UCLA. And this is when Kelly was one of the players, and like all the like the coaching staff was like the current coaching staff, or at least, you know, Kelly and Lisa, they were players, or they were a part of the program. This is when Sue Inkos was coaching. Anyway, the documentary followed UCLA.
Okay. And I have to say the director must have been an American, because Americans have to have happy endings.
Might have been. Well, yeah, I think so, because I'm pretty sure it was UCLA, whatever, Department of Film, students. Yeah. I think this is just when documentaries, I think we're becoming the thing.
Yeah. Steven Spielberg was a student then, probably.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, obviously it was very rudimentary in its form, but my point is the name of the documentary that is yet to be released, I don't even know how many copies there are out there still in circulation, because it had to be translated from VHS to whatever DVD, was called Between the White Lines. And so that stuck with me, Between the White Lines, and obviously the ideas of what happens between the white lines transpires to what happens beyond the white lines. And so credit goes to UCLA softball for that one, because that message stuck with me, and really beyond the white lines, the idea of that is what we've been talking about is the lessons that we learn on the softball field translate in huge capacity to who we are off the softball field. So between the white lines, we learn the lessons that we carry with us for life beyond the white lines.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. I'd love to see that documentary if we could find that. I'd love to watch that. That would be
fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. If I can find it, I need to, because I've been asked a number of times, and I've kept it close, because I'm like, man, this is like, this is the source of who we are today. But if I can find it, Jay, for you and Ken, I will. I'll share it with you guys.
Gladly. I love that. That would be great. Absolutely. Yeah. So I want to ask you, you had this awesome coaching for a long time, and then you also coached internationally. So did you find it different working with athletes from Austria internationally versus, working with, U.S. collegiate athletes, or, your collegiate athletes in Canada?
Yeah, such a good question. So, and I've been asked that one before. So, and I would say it's all of it. And clearly I'm not short for words, because we're already an hour and 6 minutes in. But I would say that, I mean, athletes are athletes, and people are people. And what makes us a little bit different is our culture, and where we grow up, and where we come from, and norms, and nuances. And so, I mean, at our core, at the root, whether I was in Austria or Holland playing or coaching, in Italy, wherever, or in Uganda or in Canada or the US, the game is it's the equalizer, it's the neutralizer, right? Playing on a softball field, whether you play in Chicago, or you play in Uganda, or you play in Canada. I mean, the dimensions of the field are the same. The dugouts are obviously they're a little bit different, but they're the same as far as where they fit on a softball field. And so there are so many similarities, and I think there's a powerful message there as well, in that the game allows us to be ourselves and who we are, no matter where we are. And so, there are tons of parallels and consistencies, regardless of where you are playing, where I was playing or where I was coaching. And then, of course, some differences, as far as resources go and equipment goes. Fields, how amazing, incredible are the fields just even a high school field in the US is nicer than any field in Africa. In fact, we were playing, I went down to Nicaragua and did some coaching down there as well. And there was a lot of similarities between Nicaragua and Uganda, in that there was cows and chickens and pigs on the same grass and field. That we're playing catch and we're playing ball. Right. And so the resources, the facilities, the infrastructure, the equipment, those are things that are different, but I don't know that you would expect any different, because I think maybe the availability of resources is going to be different, not just on the softball field, but off the softball field, depending on what country you're coming from as well. But you find a way to make it work, and you leverage that, right? You embrace that. So fine, we're in Uganda and we're playing on a corner of a cricket field with cows and pigs, literally like between my pitcher and first base. And we just have fun with it and we celebrate it. And so you win with what you've got, you find a way to make it work. and that there's no excuses because, where there's a will, there's a way, and everything is figure outable. And so, you just got to find a way to make it work. And it doesn't really matter where you're coming from or what country you're playing.
I would have to think that, kind of makes it a special experience too, because you have people there who are probably really, really excited that you were there. Just that you were there, that you were helping them, you were bringing that knowledge that came from all the experiences you've had and playing in something that they would think was just unreal. It would be like Disney World to them. And here they are. I just have to imagine there was a level of joy there that maybe sometimes gets forgotten in the grind that we do here with 150 games and travel ball and, trying to jam so many games into college and high school and everything else.
Yeah. There definitely was. Eventually we got to that point, but I think I had to earn it. It wasn't like this coach is showing up. Because again, softball, I don't think was celebrated to the same level as it is in America, let alone North America. But I had to earn it. There was a level of having to prove myself, and I was okay with that. I think that that's fair. I would feel the same way. So like when I went to Austria, and every year Jessica Mendoza was there at the same time I was, in Holland. She was there at the same time I was. And so whether I'm in Holland or Austria or Uganda, there's somebody that has been there before you. There's somebody that will be there after you. And so, you've got to prove yourself and show that you have something that they want. And really that was my job, was like to show up and say, okay, here's what I can offer you. And that's, I think, what they were looking for, is like, okay, what does this person want with us, and why is she here, and what does she have to offer us? So if it's okay, I want to share a quick story with you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. So Austria, I'll share two quick ones. Austria, I remember I had a couple players, and I was hitting ground balls just like you normally would. We've all done it, hitting fungo ground balls to our kids, to our players. And one of the players, and we had some American import players. I had one from UGA on our Austrian team, one from UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham, and one from UTEP, Texas, El Paso. And so those were our three import players. And I remember hitting ground balls just to everybody, not really paying attention if they're an import player or not. And I remember hitting one that was a little bit softer that one of the players, it was an Austrian, great player, had to charge. And that, to me, that's actually harder to have to charge a ball than to have it hit hard at you.
Yeah.
And so she had to charge it. And later at the end of practice, I could tell that her body language changed a little bit. And I'm like, hey, let's have a conversation. What's going on? And she said, well, you're hitting it softer to the Austrians than you are the import players. And I'm like, huh. That was not what was happening at all. However, yeah, okay, noted. And I, explained that wasn't actually the case. She was my shortstop.
You give me way too much credit for bat control at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. And so that wasn't the case. It was just, she's a shortstop. She's gonna have to charge the ball. And so anyway, had a conversation. But my point is that there was tons of lessons to learn, that these are the expectations. This is the paradigm. This is the lens that my players are observing me through. And so there was very much we had to have some good conversations and communication and explain what my intentions were. And so I learned then how important communication was and sharing intention. And of course, carried that lesson with me as well. But here's one from Africa. Here's a Ugandan story. So, and there's a long one, so I'll spare you the whole thing, even though I feel like it's cool. But a future documentary will come out sharing this, but because we've got the footage. But I remember 2016 was the year that Surrey, Canada, which is where I grew up playing also, one of the tournament places, Softball City was going to be hosting the World Championship. And what that meant at that time was, because softball was not in the Olympics anymore, that event it wasn't used as a qualifier, the World Championship. It wasn't used as a qualifier. And so as long as the federation was in good standing with the WBSC, so whatever nation was interested, as long as that federation was in good standing with the WBSC, then they were eligible, assuming they paid all their dues and were members of the WBSC, they would be eligible to compete in this World Championship. And Greg Tim was the visionary behind this, good friend of mine, still involved, actually runs the Canada Cup now, and has for a long time. But that particular year, World Championship, the event was open to any country. And so there's a bit of history to my connection with Uganda. But the point is that, of course, why not try to get Uganda to a World Championship? And so, which we didn't know how the heck we were going to do it. We didn't have any funding. The federation had to, pay their dues. There was no money. There was no resource. There was no nothing. But again, everything's figure outable. And we'll find a way. And so what we ended up doing, or what I ended up doing, was going over to Uganda in 2014, a couple years prior, I guess a year and a half prior to the World Championship, and going around the country, different villages, and just looking for athletes, talking with cricket coaches and rugby coaches, and just talking with people and being like, okay, where are the athletes? There was a couple of players who had previously been over and shadowed me in Canada. And so they learned about softball. And so we had a connection, and they pitched. So I was like, all right, we've got pitchers. I'll be the coach. There's other coaches. Why don't we try to do this? So I went around the country, found players with the help of everybody else, formed a long list of players that would eventually become the national team, and had a long list, had a short list. And then once we had the short list, and my assistant coaches were taking care of that. They were the coaches in Uganda. One was a rugby coach and one played baseball. They took care of the long list of the short list. And then it was time for me to go back over and help determine who the final roster was going to be. So I flew back over to Uganda. We scheduled some practices. And I remember having a conversation with the team at that time. And my conversation, once we had the team selected, was, hey guys, we're going to a world championship in a year and a half from now. Here's what I need from you. I need for you guys to stay committed and practice and do all the things that, you need to prepare, and thinking that the message was being received. And so left, and then went back a couple weeks before we were going to jump on airplanes to go to take them from Uganda to Canada. And I remember a couple of the players, or twins actually, a couple of players came over to me and said, "Coach, can we talk to you?" Coach, as in COACH. Coach, can we talk to you? And I'm like, yeah, of course. What's up? Talk to me. And they're like, okay. And then they both had a bit of a concerned look on their face. Like, what's going on? Talk to me. And the concern was that all of their friends and all of their family was saying how this coach lady is crazy and she's lying, and there's something that she wants from us. There's no way that this is going to happen. This is not possible. Bringing a team from Uganda to Canada. My players, some of them didn't have birth certificates. They certainly didn't have passports. Thankfully, Ruth Hoffman, an incredible person as well, good friend of mine, and her people were also helping take care of the administrative logistics behind the scenes. So it was a team of people. But anyway, and the players said, we don't know what to tell them. What should we tell everybody? And we're 2 weeks away from getting on airplanes and going. And what I said was, it's fair. It's fair that these people are asking and questioning and doubting, not just you players, but me and the message that we're delivering. But all I can tell you is to tell them to watch this. And that became our slogan. That became our mantra. So every time before we started practice, after we got done practice, was watch this, watch this, watch this. And then we're 2 days out from jumping on airplanes again. Most of them had never flown. I think a combined 2.5 games of official softball had ever been played amongst the entire team, which means many had never even played in a game with an umpire and without pigs and cows and chickens on the field. And then when Jopa actually was one of the players who was working with Ruth to get the players their passports and tickets. And once Jopa and Kathy, one of my other assistant coaches, actually, she played for me in Austria. There's another story, but she was on the Austrian national team years prior when I was coaching. Her husband was working for an NGO in Uganda, and it just so happened that she was there as well. Crazy connections all over the place. But anyway, between her and Jopa, they were passing out the passports and tickets to the players. And they came over to me they came over to me later and were like, we didn't believe until we were handed these documents 48 hours before that this was actually going to happen. And so watch this was on everything. It was on our shirts, on our jackets. It just became, our mantra of you know what? I'm not going to try to convince you that this is going to happen. Why would I spend my energy trying to convince people? It's my energy is better spent on doing, and our collective energy is better spent on doing. And so, it turns out that we headed to the airport out of Entebbe, Uganda, jumped on planes. We had a rehearsal, actually, a couple practices. We had rehearsals at the end of practice on what it meant to get on a plane, what that was going to be like, what the stewardess were going to do when they offered you your orange juice, and how long it was going to be. So we really had to, we had to spend a lot of time talking and preparing for for the stuff that was going to happen off the softball field beyond the white lines. And so we did that, and they landed in Vancouver to an incredible welcoming party of people that were just a lot of friends and softball lovers, with their signs and welcome to Canada, and just truly Canadian welcoming and kindness. And we had a number of families that of players that I coached and gave lessons to and worked with that housed them. And I mean, just the entire event was incredible. We played Ireland first round, beat Ireland. Just that's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to not have any softball experience whatsoever. And I think we were game number 1 of the entire tournament. But again, it goes back to, I'm pretty sure softball and the softball gods have got plans, because I don't think I could have scripted that any better. But yeah, I ended up winning that ball game and just didn't look back. So I think those are 2 experiences that will forever be etched in my brain, not just as a coach, but as a human. And that watch this mentality still stays true to today. I'm not going to try to spend a whole lot of time convincing people on what we're going to do. That's energy not well spent. And just knowing that a rising tide lifts all ships, that if we all just invest our energy in getting better and keep the North Star of improvement at the forefront, then how can you go wrong, right? Do right. And it's really easy to stay confident and motivated because you know you're doing the right thing. So yeah, this game has given so much to me, as well as to the people that I get to spend time with. So that's my job. I think I'm just a conduit of love for softball.
Well, all I can say is if anybody from Disney is listening, or anybody knows anybody from Disney that's listening, this is Cool Runnings version 2. Ah,
yeah. So true.
Right down to the happy ending thing where you could have it, they could just pretty much cut the movie at you guys beat Ireland. There's a big celebration, and then you put up the little card at the end that says what happened with the rest of it.
Yeah. Amen. I agree. Disney, this is a story you want to hear.
So I want to ask you, Joni, you spent a significant time educating coaches. So why is coach development so important to you?
Knowing the importance of coach development, knowing that I have had incredible people along my journey that have invested in me, and knowing the importance of being an effective coach, knowing the impact that effective coaching and coaches have on humanity, on people, on society. That's our job. I think at the end of the day, one of our jobs is one of my mottos anyway, is that we're all just walking each other home. And if we can bring a bunch of like-minded people together that softball happens to be a passion for, then our job is just to share the experiences that we've had and the knowledge and the wisdom that we've been able to acquire and pass that on and make sure that legacy it continues, and that the game continues to get better. It's our job to serve the game. And I guess that the good Lord gave me a voice, and maybe it's a coaching voice that I have. And so my job is to make sure that I use my voice, not just literally, but also figuratively, and vice versa. Yeah, it's just, I think it's my obligation and responsibility to make sure that it's maybe a little bit easier, a little bit more streamlined. And I know that no matter what country we're in, softball can be great. And so if I can play a small part, and it is very small, there's a lot of really incredible people. I'm a small part of this. If I can just do my part and play my role, then I've done good for the game. And so I take that take that responsibility of coach education and coach development very, very seriously, and just having the experience and passing that experience on so that it's leveraged.
If someone wants to take advantage of all of this, all the things that you offer, how do they get a hold of you, or where can they go to look it up?
So it's super easy. I mean, obviously Google is an incredible thing. Shout out to Google, but I'm happy to have phone calls. I'm not going to throw my number out there for everybody, but you can email me, jfrei, JFREI at canada-futures.com. And then if you email me, I will give you my number, and I'm happy to have conversations with you. And Facebook, I feel like my Instagram capabilities are not what they are, really never really been really good. But I've got incredible people or a team of people that are monitoring our Instagram. So you can message us on that. Yeah, I'm not hard to get a hold of, and I will definitely connect back.
Okay, give us that email address one more time.
Yeah, so JFREI, Frei at Canada, Canada-futures.com. So Frei at canadafutures.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, we've kind of kept you longer than we promised. We appreciate it. I can't believe that it's gone this quickly. but here we are. So one question we always like to ask folks at the end is, do you have any hidden talents or something that would surprise people to learn about you?
Man, I don't think I'm that talented of a person. Let me think here. And I imagine this is not unique to me. I like to paint. And I like to express my feelings through art. And so my friends now are like, hey, I want a painting and you should sell your paintings. I'm like, nobody wants to buy my kindergarten paintings. But I find that provides peace and allows me to express kind of how I'm feeling. And so I wouldn't call it a talent, maybe a hobby, but I enjoy painting. And then, of course, photography and just celebrating and recognizing my environment and sharing it with other people. So photography and painting, I guess, but they're not talents. They're more so hobbies. I'm not really that good at a lot of things.
Is that
I surround myself with amazing people? I'm a small part of this. I've got incredible people around me that make everything work.
Is that picture behind your head? It looks like it maybe a giraffe. Is that one of yours?
It is. Yeah, it is a giraffe. And I need to get that framed, actually. Thanks for pointing that out. And there's a little baby there. So when I was in Uganda, one of the things we do, in fact, another story for another day, I guess, is we actually brought the Canadian, after the World Championship, we brought a Canadian team to Uganda and competed. And when we did, we went on a safari and to a game reserve. And there was a mama giraffe, and I'm pretty sure it was a week old, if not less, little baby giraffe that was just learning to use its stilts. And so, yeah, that's that picture.
Awesome.
Well, Joni, thank you so much for spending time with Ken and I today. We absolutely appreciate it. Thank you for giving out all that information and knowledge. Hopefully people that are listening are tuning in, take some great takeaways from you. So thanks so much for spending some time with Ken and I. We truly appreciate your time.
Yes,
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. What a fun hour and a half that was. I don't typically think about the questions that you had asked. And so I'm leaving with a level of joy and gratitude for the time that you guys have spent with me. So thank you, truly. It's been an honor, and thanks for asking me to jump on with this. I'll do it anytime you ask. I'll do anything you need me to do ever. So thanks, guys, to both of you.
Thank you, Joni.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's it for us this week. Thanks to all of you for listening and the kind words you've been sharing with us. If you like what you're hearing, please remember to give us a like, leave a comment, and share this podcast on your social media channels. Still have a few t-shirts left, so you can take advantage of that as well. Make sure you never miss an episode by following us on your favorite podcast platform. And if you're so inclined, you can also leave us a great review on Apple Podcasts to help more people find us. On behalf of the From the Coach's Mouth podcast, have a great rest of your week and weekend.